Alrighty, how are you doing, guys? Can you hear me and can you see me, which is even more important? You know, I've just been speaking for 5 minutes straight, talking to my camera, and then I realized, oh my god, I didn't press that go live button. So yeah, probably because I'm a little bit tired after my Mandarin stream. You know, I have my main channel in Mandarin, which is called Bolan Taiwan, and this is my second channel. It's in English, and we're gonna discuss all kinds of affairs that are related to Taiwan, to Europe, to the United States, and to global politics as general. Basically, all the topics I want to talk about. Yep. So, already. So today I have picked some topics that I'd like to discuss with you and to share my perspective on with you guys. First one is Ukraine's successful incursion on Russian territory in the Kursk region, Kursk area, which is bordering Ukraine, and we'll talk about that and talk about the stupidity of Russian commanders, how they actually put on live TV the moving columns of trucks and tanks and everything, basically becoming an open target for Ukrainian forces. Then we'll discuss yesterday's boxing match, the Olympic boxing match, where Lin Yu-ting won, and our Polish athlete, Yulia Sheremeta, she won silver medal. Congrats to her, and congrats to Lin Yu-ting. You ladies both succeeded, and congrats. I think there is no winner and no loser in that final competition, because only the strongest ones can get into those kind of things. And we'll discuss Kamala Harris's pick for vice presidential candidate, Tim Scott. If you have watched my video yesterday, you probably know my perspective, and I really don't like this team of these two people. I think it's going to be a little bit, it's not good news for Taiwan, in my opinion. Not good news for Taiwan, in my opinion. Alrighty, Pete, howdy. Our friend from Hong Kong, K.L. Tong. Amui, welcome. Zhen Dan, welcome. Simon Airbuster, I'm coming. Welcome to the show. Alrighty, so let's start. Let me show you the map first with what's going on the front lines. Okay, present. 1 second. Yeah, here. So this is the map made by the Institute for the Study of War, an American think tank. Here we see the map. So this is the Sumy region of Ukraine, and up north. And if you go to the south and to the southwest from Sumy region, there is Kharkiv region, like a very second largest city in Ukraine that Russia really wanted to occupy, but they didn't manage to. And then we see here is the territory currently occupied by Russia, the territory of Kursk, and we see that there are many villages and towns captured. And the city of Kursk is more up north here. It is not visible on this map. So during these 3 to 4 days, Ukraine made very big advancement around the city of Suja. And Russians are losing people. They're losing their tanks. They're losing their trucks. They're losing everything. And you know, the problem is that Russia is probably too much concentrated on occupying Ukrainian territories than protecting its own territories. So that's why it was a very easy advancement for Ukraine. People were running, and according to some reports, even the KGB officials in the region were running away. And that's why the KGB FSB, it is called FSB now. The KGB staff in Moscow is pissed about it. They're very not happy about it. Okay, so what this kind of incursion shows us? First of all, it's a very smart move on the side of Ukrainian people, because, you know, on those territories that are Ukrainian territories that are being occupied by Russia right now, they have built those massive, like dragon teeth, and they um, all kind of defense systems, plus minefields. It's very hard to attack front to front on that part of on that part of the front line. But here, Russia probably didn't send any professional soldiers to protect their borders, as right now, per what I've heard, the people who are on the border are mostly not reservists, but people who are serving their obligatory, mandatory military service. So they're not soldiers per se. They're just there performing some duties in front of the Russian government. So they probably didn't receive good enough training. So that's why when Ukrainian army came in, they surrendered, and that's good, because people who are on the front lines in Ukraine, they go there. They're either drafted or they come for money, because Russia pays some money to those soldiers who are going to kill innocent Ukrainian people and take part in that unlawful invasion of Ukraine. But here, then we see the stupidity of Russian military, because right when the incursion started, Russian military sent columns of trucks and tanks and all kind of military stuff down the highways, and they made a TV report on that, live TV report on that. And of course, the Ukrainians, they saw that, and they used perfect Western equipment to take down that column, and around 500 people died. 500 Russian soldiers were defeated, and that's good. That's extremely good. So we see how Ukraine is advancing, and we see how Ukraine understands that it is too hard to attack Russia on the occupied territories in Ukraine, but what can be done, because the border is long, Russian-Ukraine border is very long, and if Ukraine gets into Russia, then they have more opportunities to negotiate, right? And actually to demand the full withdrawal of troops from the territory of Ukraine. Yeah. So this is a very smart move. Secondly, it shows how Russians actually don't care about the war. Like ordinary Russian people, they don't care about the war, and nobody wants to protect Putin's regime against invasion and against any kind of military challenge that Russia is facing, which is also a good signal, because on Russian TV there is almost no information about that. They're not talking about Ukrainian incursion on territory of Russia, and they started to actually slow down and ban YouTube slowly right when it happened, because they don't want the people to see that Russia is losing. So for them, the whole war is probably like something like a background noise that they don't want to think about, but they just want to maintain as, I don't know, as a way to show Russians that Russia is strong. I don't understand the logic behind that, but whatever. Ukraine, it's a very successful operation. Probably many people have thought that this would be something like what Ukrainian soldiers did during previous years. They came into Russia, they probably got some data, and then they went out, or like a drone attack, right, on Russian territory. But no, right now you see that they're captured people. There are some prisoners of war that are being sent back into Ukraine. They're also occupied by Ukraine territories. So this is great. And why does Ukraine? Why do they do it right now? Why do they do that right now? I think the number one reason is Western equipment actually started arriving in Ukraine, and this is also shows why we Western countries should be more united in our support of Ukraine. If this kind of support would have been given to Ukraine 2 years ago, we would have seen those kind of news earlier, and the war could have ended already if Ukraine got its equipment earlier. So this is the most important thing of it all. Ukraine army, Ukrainian soldiers are incredible. They know how to fight. They know who are they fighting with, and they need our support and they need our help. So basically, as Jakub Janda on Twitter said, right now we have to give everything that we have that we have. to Ukraine, because Ukraine is fighting for our freedom, is fighting for the freedom of the European people, it's fighting for the freedom of Taiwanese people also, it's fighting for the freedom of people all around the world, including the American people. Because Russia and China is basically the same thing. And Russia perceives everything, like all of the willingness to negotiate by the Western countries, as weakness. Same thing with China. And only by military deterrence can we stop them, and can we actually diminish their expansionism. Like that's my humble opinion. So that's why we need to do our best to help Ukraine. And I do congratulate Ukraine. And Ukraine is the first country in the world and the first country in human history that actually managed to occupy some territories of a nuclear state. Well, even though that nuclear state is kind of a failed state already, and even though that kind of nuclear state started a war that nobody wanted, including people in that state. But failed states all look like that. They start very unpopular wars, and then they fail. And I really wish that Putin's regime would fall soon, and Russia has to pay. As a country, they have to pay for everything they've done in Bucha, for everything they've done in Kherson, for everything they've done in Mariupol, for everything they've done all around Ukraine. And it is very inspiring to see Ukrainian soldiers fighting back and Ukrainian soldiers getting some territorial advances on the territory of Russia. This is good. This is good. And I wish all the best to my Ukrainian friends. Okay. And how they say in Ukrainian, Slava Ukraini. Slava Ukraini. Okay. That's the first thing I wanted to discuss with you. Then there is a second topic. Lin Yu-ting won gold. Lin Yu-ting won gold in a boxing competition. She was against a Polish boxer, Yulia Sheremeta, and it was a very interesting fight. It was a very interesting fight, especially in light of the recent scandals around the whole persona and around the whole image of Lin Yu-ting when she was accused of being a biological male by some shady association called IBA, International Boxing Association, whose main investor and main sponsor is Russian natural gas company called Gazprom, and the head of that company is also Russian, and they have very strong ties with Putin. So IBA said that Lin Yu-ting is not a biological female. They didn't provide any report. They didn't give any proof of that. No evidence was provided. And some of the conservatives in the West listened to that kind of false information. And I think it was a very successful psyops by the Chinese and by the Russians. Why by the Chinese? You can see the Chinese trace here, as there have been news on doping scandals on Chinese athletes using performance boosters. Performance-enhancing drugs during the Olympics. And right after that, Lin Yu-ting news comes. So, yeah. But nevertheless, she won. Congrats to her. You deserved it. Also, congrats to Yulia Sheremeta, to our Polish boxer. I think it was an interesting match, and I really did enjoy watching it. Okay. So, for the IBA thing, right now, Taiwan would probably, as a state, the government of Taiwan would file a suit against IBA. And I think this is absolutely lawful, because the whole campaign of trying to portray Lin Yu-ting as a biological male it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And what is very important for all of us, I think Russia and China, they know what to do, and they know what words to use. They know what kind of mechanisms to use against us in their psyops. Why? First of all, you see how divided are our societies, and I think it is also related to the harsh left shift in the Western politics, because we see some occurrences of biological male taking part in sports, like Leah Thomas, right? This is not acceptable. And of course, the debate here is, and the concerns there, they're absolutely legitimate. They're absolutely legitimate. And like the opening ceremony, it all, this is a little bit too much. Like having males, having men with their balls falling out of the underwear in front of 10-year-old girl, which happened during the opening ceremony. And I'm not talking about the mocking Christianity, that's a different kind of topic. Plus this kind of social debate that is going on right now, and the forceful appliance of those leftist politics on the people in the West, it's a little bit, I think the left they have done too much. They don't know where to stop and how to stop. This is one of the problems, and that's why people like J.K. Rowling, when they see some news coming from an association called International Boxing Association, she didn't look further. She didn't look at who is standing behind this association. She didn't look at the ties with China and Russia of this association, and she believed it. So that's why she started spreading this kind of false information. So you have a very good ground to spread rumors, and you have a very good ground for spreading false information with such divided politically, societally, Western countries such as the United States, such as any country in the European Union. And of course, those debates they will keep on going on. And regarding the Polish boxer Julia Szeremeta, she gave some comments about Lin Yu-ting before, but what I want to tell you, she is a very she's a politician. She's a politician. She's a member of a Konfederacja party here in Poland, and she knows what she's talking about, and she's know whom is she talking to, and who are the people she is trying to communicate with. So yeah, it was all politically motivated. I don't think she really wished Yu-ting and any kind of bad things, but it was targeting Polish, like radical conservative kind of group of people that support Konfederacja party. Okay, that's the thing. But what we should talk about, and what is extremely important here, is that the division of the societies that we have right now, and the problem with the radical left that we have right now, even though they say that there is a rise of far right, rise of right, there are people protesting on the rights, of course. And there are people rioting on the rights also, like what's going on in the United Kingdom right now, which is sad, which is extremely sad, because it all started as showing legitimate concerns. It doesn't mean it has to be left or right, but legitimate concerns with the immigration. But the results of the elections are either centrist or leftist parties win. And here we see the problem. And probably for me, it is the biggest problem, that some of those policies, especially those environmentalist policies, such as forcing everyone to, I mean, like extremely high prices for fuel, for energy, high taxes, encouraging, but de facto forcing everyone to drive electric vehicles just to fulfill some of that environmentalist agenda. And those people who act as very unreasonable people, like spilling paint on works of art, blocking roads, and saying that's for the best of the environment. If you care about the environment, don't follow the climate call, and stop buying Chinese stuff. China is the biggest polluter on earth, and by us using paper straws, it won't have any impact on the climate change. Climate has been changing for centuries. Climate has been changing for centuries. So yeah, I have my concerns here, because it's very unhealthy for the economy, and it is also dangerous. We've just talked about Ukraine, right? One of the biggest problems, and what gave Russia confidence that they can attack Ukraine and that Europe probably will not do anything, one of the biggest thing was the European energy dependence on Russia. And we'll talk about Germany a little bit here, because the German government at the time, there was Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2. Germany almost stopped using coal, stopped using nuclear. They just made their economy dependent on Russian natural gas. And it was a big mistake. And it was done it was done to actually appease those environmentalist circles. So this is the problem, and this is one of the most important problems that the Western countries are facing right now. The shift to the left is a bit, it has been too much. First of all, weak military. Militarily, like, German military spending should rise because we are on the same boat here. We're in the same boat here. We have to protect each other. We have to have strong militaries because China is increasing its military spending. Russia is increasing its military spending. Russia is actually committing war crimes right now in Ukraine. They're attacking a country that's right on our borders. That is right on our borders. So we have to stay stronger, and we have to understand we also need our own energy. I also hope that the United States will drill, and have cheap oil that actually comes from the United States, from a free country. And free countries should actually do more for its energy independence. In my opinion, this is what we should talk about, and this is when the environmentalist agenda went too far. And secondly, things with high taxation, with very loose immigration requirements, with basically people getting in, like what happened on Polish-Belarusian border when one of those illegal immigrants just killed a Polish soldier, like also out of the blue. So these issues, they have to be talked about, and people who are trying to raise those concerns, they're being told that they're racist, that they're xenophobic, that they don't care about the environment, they don't care about this and that. But the concerns are legitimate, and they're also related to the safety of the country. And what is the most disgusting thing is that those environment people, they never say any single bad word about China. As Greta Thunberg to scold China, as Greta Thunberg to actually show her concerns as an environmentalist on what China is doing, being the biggest polluter on Earth, being the biggest polluter on this planet. She'll never do that. And none of those environmentalists will ever do that. But we have to use paper straws and at the same time use plastic cups in Starbucks. They used to give us paper cups with plastic straws, but right now it became plastic cups with paper straws. Even more plastic in the end. And probably those paper straws would give you cancer. I mean, whenever I buy coffee from Starbucks and it comes with a paper straw, it tastes like glue. Like that paper straw, it tastes like glue. How much glue did they use while producing those? I don't know. So yeah, this is one of the concerns. Then, all right. And here we'll have a smooth transition to the topic of Tim Walz. I don't like Tim Walz. Because I have seen what's been going on in Minnesota, how Minnesota and Minneapolis and St. Paul actually became battlegrounds. I have seen his plans for carbon-less power grid, basically becoming leaders in environmentalism. I have seen him failing to address any safety issues, providing reasonable funding for the police, and all of that it made Minnesota a worse place to live. Actually, carbonless power grid in one of the coldest states in the United States. It's colder in Minnesota. It's colder in Minneapolis than in Warsaw, than in Poland. I mean, that's not smart. That's not smart to put it straight. Okay, that's one thing. Then, internationally speaking, he has spent a long time in China. Used to be a teacher, and he said that he has only positive opinions on China, and the people gave him as many gifts he couldn't bring back home. I mean, like, yeah, sounds like a pretty corrupt person to me. When he's been to the country and the only thing he remembers is that people gave him so many gifts that he couldn't bring them home. Yeah. And problem with Tim Walz geopolitically, number one would be he supported Iran nuclear deal which was a mistake and which was a disaster for the United States, and it made Iran as powerful as they can attack Israel right now. Lack of support to Israel, soft on Hamas, very soft on Hamas, and very soft on terrorist organizations. And this fulfills that leftist kind of agenda, right? And soft on China, even though he was on that parliamentary committee on China, and he has been talking about human rights issues in China. He had a meeting with Joshua Wong and with the Tibetan government in exile. He also met Dalai Lama, but he never shown he has never shown support to Taiwan. He never said that he supports Taiwan, and I haven't heard him talking about Uzbekistan much. Haven't heard him talking about Uzbekistan much. So this is the problem with Tim Walz. And as with all the people who are being portrayed as people, they understand China. You know, he understands China. He knows China. I don't think that in the United States, on the democratic left part of the political aisle, you'll see anyone who actually understands China. But there are lots of appeasers, because as what Tim Walz said, climate change cooperation and all kinds of different styles of cooperation, but have to scrutinize China on human rights. Basically, what the Democrats have been doing for a very long time. Did it stop China from expansionism? No, it didn't. China sees it as weakness. Of course, they'll talk to you about climate change. Come on, Mr. Kerry, come on in. Yeah, we'll show you around. We'll talk to you about climate change. Yeah, how China is becoming a champion in climate change, in changing the climate. Yeah, how China is the greenest of the greens. But they will never talk to you about where do they get the raw materials from, for example, for the solar panels or for those electric vehicles. And some of them are slave labor related in African countries, such as in Congo. Yep. No, that they won't talk to you about that. They will never talk to you about that. And that environmentalist agenda, it's dangerous, because the solutions that they want to provide you with are even worse for the environment than you driving your old car, your old diesel car. An electric vehicle is very bad for the environment. To produce one is very harmful for the environment. And the worst thing is, if you bought a Chinese vehicle, you cannot send it back to China when the battery is out and it cannot be driven anymore. You cannot send it back to China. China will not take that. And you will have to spend your money and actually to go through all the recycling process, which is very bad for the environment. What is the most environmentally friendly policy? Drive your old car. Drive your old car for as long as you can. Repair it and drive it again. Repair it and drive it again. Like that's the only way, and that's the only thing. Stop buying stuff. Stop buying cheap stuff from China. This is the most environmentally friendly policy that anyone could come up with. With anyone, yeah. And with Tim Walz, he is absolutely pro. Yeah, and of course, I consider myself as being on the right. On economical issues, I'm 100% on the right. I'm for low taxes. I'm for privatized healthcare. I'm for privatized education. And I'm for providing people with opportunities and less scrutiny from the government. Societally, it depends on the issue. And Tim Walz raising the spending of Minnesota, it actually crippled Minnesotan economy. And I think this is gonna be the same thing if he becomes vice president of the United States. He'll cripple the whole country together with Kamala Harris. This is a very bad signal for Israel, because in the Democrat Party there are people who are very supportive of Israel, like Joe Biden, who is not running for president anymore, or like Josh Shapiro, or like Mr. Buttigieg, the Department of Transport. They're much more friendly towards Israel, but not Tim Scott, unfortunately. That's not a good signal for the US's allies. Secondly, we see that there is a soft stance towards China, because he thinks that China can can cooperate with China because he said a couple of words about Chinese human rights. Let me tell you what. I've seen some reports and some of the professors working at the National Gender University in Taiwan also saying, yeah, that's a good signal for Taiwan because he cares about human rights and he will actually give some weighted decisions on Asian politics. No, this is wrong, and this is as wrong as it can be. Those people who have been Asian tsars, who have been called like people who understand China, who know what's going on in China, who will make some weighted decisions. In the end, those people who have some Chinese background, who have been living in China, working in China, they never have a view of Taiwan, for example, as a democratic country. They see it through the lens of the Chinese Civil War, and to a certain extent, they're still being influenced by China. I haven't seen a single person who spent long time in China, Westerner, occupying some high positions, who is actually competent in Taiwan politics and Taiwan issues, and who understands what's going on in Taiwan, what Taiwan needs the most. This would be yeah. Let me tell you one thing. I've been at one of the events in Taiwan with some American military, former military, delivering a speech on Taiwan Relations Act and the U.S. policies towards Taiwan. One thing is that the U.S. has been involved in the so-called dual deterrence kind of politics. I don't know if this is the correct name, like dual or mutual deterrence. They were not only deterring the CCP from occupying Taiwan, but also deterring Taiwan from striking back against China, the Chiang Kai-shek regime from striking back against China. And up until now, those old folks, probably same age as Mr. Waltz, they see Taiwan from that kind of lens. It's a more democratic, but it is still China. And we have to look at Taiwan through the lens of China, and we have to understand and acknowledge what is Chinese position on Taiwan, which is different from what the Republicans see here. And like what J.D. Vance said, that China is an existential threat to the United States. And he also voiced his concerns about Taiwan not receiving the most recent military equipment, most up-to-date military equipment, plus having legitimate concerns on Taiwan's ability to protect itself, and therefore applying pressure to Taiwan to actually spend more on military. This is very good, and this is the administration that is more helpful towards the Taiwanese people. Pete says that Waltz is a coward who didn't call the state troopers for the riots. Yeah. I mean, political correctness above it all. Political correctness above it all. What happened to George Floyd is terrible. Of course, it's terrible. He's a victim of police brutality. I'm not saying that he is not criminal or whatever, but he is a victim of police brutality. That's for sure, and that's probably the consensus that everybody has right now. But it doesn't give any excuse to have riots like have been going on in Minneapolis and St. Paul, or like in Portland, Oregon, or Seattle, like in those blue states. It was terrible. I have friends and family in LA, and they've been saying it was a bit scary going out during those days. So yeah, it's California, but LA was not as bad. LA was not as bad as Portland or as Minneapolis. Yeah. So, and that's why I think Gordon Chang said a very correct thing about Tim Waltz, that his thoughts that that the U.S. can cooperate with China, it's naive. I think to put in a very polite way, it is naive. It is extremely naive, like with most of the Democrats that somehow think that China is a partner that everybody can negotiate with. Unfortunately, it is not. And the only language that China understands, the Chinese government understands, the CCP understands, not the Chinese people. Chinese people, there are all kinds of Chinese people. Of course, there are CCP supporters There are also people who are against the CCP. But Chinese people don't have a say in anything that's going on in China. That's what we all have to admit. No matter how nice the Chinese people are, they don't have a say in Chinese politics. It's all what the CCP wants them to do. And so we see a person like Tim Walz again, like very leftist, very progressive. One person's socialism is another person's neighborlessness. Yeah, neighborlessness. Neighborliness. Why did I say neighborlessness? Neighborliness. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. And socialism. Let me tell you what. Poland suffered from socialism. There is not a single thing that's worse than socialism that can ever exist in this world. If you want to make slaves out of people, yeah, support socialism. But otherwise, we should be pro freedom, right? Okay, because freedom is not free. They say that everything is for free in socialism, but no, there's usually someone paying for it. Usually the people pay for it with their health, with their lost opportunities, and with their lives. So yeah, basically like that. So Tim Walz, I know that some people say, yeah, he met Joshua Wong and he met Dalai Lama. Yeah, I mean, many U.S. politicians meet with activists, meet with human rights lawyers, meet with people who suffered from the regime, but that doesn't mean that they will actually stand by Chinese people and Chinese people's human rights in the end. And policy-wise, if they think that China can be negotiated with, or if there will be another stupidity within the U.S. administration, thinking that by applying pressure to China, you can make Russia stop invading Ukraine. No, this is not how it works. China will support Russia's invasion in Ukraine in any way, shape, or form. And I think that the whole idea that somehow we can track how China is helping Russia or is not helping Russia, they have a very long border. You don't know what kind of things go through this border every day. You got no idea, and there is no way to track. Talking about military secrets, talking about technology, talking about weaponry, talking about everything. And these two armies, Russian and Chinese armies, they basically use the same equipment, which is Soviet based and expanded on the Soviet equipment. And when American politicians say, yeah, we'll apply pressure to China so that Russia stops its invasion, how are you supposed to do that? How are you supposed to do that? The only thing you can do is sanction China, sanction Russia, support Ukraine, and support your allies in Indo-Pacific. That's it. Provide support to Japan, give more military aid to Taiwan, and stop saying those double standard bullshit things like, oh yeah, we have one China policy and we don't support Taiwan's independence. But one day ago, President Biden said, well, we have a commitment to protect Taiwan. This sends wrong signals to China. If you say you don't support Taiwan's independence, even though the United States, politically speaking and legally speaking, they don't have a say in Taiwan's independence. They, in Taiwan's Relations Act, not ROC Relations Act, in Taiwan's Relations Act, there's a saying that the U.S. should provide military help and should protect Taiwan. Never says about the ROC. But it never says that the U.S. has a say in Taiwan's independence. It's up to the Taiwanese people to decide, and the U.S. doesn't have a say in any country's independence. That's simply, any country doesn't have a say in any country's independence. That, legally speaking, that just doesn't make sense. So when President Biden, for example, says that Taiwan's future is for the 23 million Taiwanese people to decide, people like Campbell or people like Sullivan saying the next day, oh, we support one China policy and we don't support Taiwan independence. At the same time, we don't oppose Taiwan independence. They don't add the part that they don't oppose, but they mean that they don't oppose. Because what is one China policy of the United States? It's basically that the US acknowledges that China has claims to Taiwan, But they don't agree with that. They just acknowledge, yeah, we see you want Taiwan. Yeah, that's it. So this is the biggest problem here. And whenever people say weighted decisions, anytime I hear weighted decisions on China and he understands China, basically that means he will lick boots of China. There is no way to do any weighted decisions. The only language that China understands is the language of force. So you want to trade with us? Sanctions, tariffs, protect our companies within your country. Like that. And right now with China, with anti-espionage laws, with all kind of legislation that is actually targeting American companies and American people and American entities within China, the US didn't do anything meaningful against that. And that kind of too soft on China's approach and too weak support of Taiwan approach is what makes US allies lose trust. That's why Prime Minister Kishida of Japan, when he went to the United States, he said that the US right now is drowning in self-doubt. Yeah. He was addressing the Republicans who are going into more like isolationist pathway. But this also is related to Democrats who live in their leftist dreams of world peace and world cooperation, and we can be partners and competitors at the same time. Now the world has changed. China doesn't see you as a partner. Neither does Russia. Neither does Iran or Belarus or North Korea. Nobody sees you as a partner. They see you as an enemy. They teach their children to hate America in their classes. They're not partners. They indoctrinate their children, teach them how to hold weapons, and teach them that all the bad things come from the United States. That's it. That's it. And you have to face it and understand it, that they educate people to hate you. And the whole administration of China thinks that if they can screw Americans up, that's a win for them. Seeing weaker America, seeing weaker Western countries, all kinds of Western countries, including the European Union and all members of the European Union, including the United Kingdom, it all will only make China happy. So we have to stay strong. We have to stay united. We have to address all of the concerns that we are having, including the migration issues. I am 100% for migration. And I think that there should be requirements. There should be a process in place. We should know who are the people that come in. And we need migrants. Poland needs migrants. Everybody needs migrants because we don't have enough people. And not enough workforce. You see, when the United Kingdom, when they left the European Union right now, we don't have enough workforce. Where are all the European nurses? They're all left. Why? Because of Brexit. It was easy to come to the UK to work. Right now, it's impossible. So yeah. But it doesn't mean that all kind of people without any kind of documents can just come in. But there is such a problem, including on Polish border with Belarus, when they're sending those illegal migrants whom Lukashenko uses as a political tool, or with people who come to the countries illegally. There should be a legal process in place, and I'm 100% for liberalization, but it should be people should follow the process. I think that's a very easy thing to understand. Otherwise, they put forward ridiculous ideas of like driver's license for illegal migrants. There are people who waited in the line for years. I have relatives who waited for 10 years to get an invitation to the United States and get a green card, like family related. Waited and didn't complain about anything. Just waited. Stand in line. I don't see a difference. Why should the people who come illegally be treated better than those who come legally? That's unfair. That's absolutely unfair. And I think that there should be refugees should be also protected. Of course, refugees should be protected. But like with Hong Kong refugees, people went through the process, right? They came, they applied, they got all the paperwork, but Not everybody is like that, unfortunately. And these are my biggest concerns. And the people, of course, will be having concerns, especially when the crime rates when they grow. So we have to stay united. We have to understand who our enemies are. And our enemies are like there is an axis of evil, like the how Lord Robinson said, a quartet of evil, quartet of evil, the evil four: Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, and also Belarus. There's one country more. So yeah, basically like that. So it's pretty concerning to see what's going on, and pretty sad to see what's going on, for example, in the United Kingdom. But I hope that we all come together and stand strong as democracies. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys. These are basically the things I wanted to talk to you about. And yeah, see you next week. Let me think what's the next English video would be about. And yeah, please support my channel. I say that right now on X there is 200 people watching. There's 200 people watching, but there is only 11 people watching on YouTube. Please come to my YouTube channel. It is called Freedom is Not Free. It is called Freedom is Not Free. Okay, looks like that. There is a link here. I will post it. If it would let me post. No. One moment, please. Okay. This is my channel, which is called Freedom is Not Free. Those who are watching on X, please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. It's not hard. I publish videos every week, sometimes twice a week, talking about Taiwanese affairs, talking about US policies' impact on Taiwan, European policies' impact on Taiwan. Basically the same thing I'm doing on my Mandarin channel, but in English. I need to get this channel to be monetized because I'm gonna do more videos when I go to the United States this year, and I hope to have this channel monetized by then. So kindly asking you. Okay, right now there is a 381 people watching on X and only 11 watching on YouTube. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Come on. Just go to my YouTube channel, press subscribe. It's not hard. Let's get it monetized. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. So yeah, see you next week, or how they say in Taiwanese, ole bai, taken.